we go. And feel where your body is connected to the mat, to the earth, whatever you want to call it, the floor. And as you exhale, when you're ready to exhale, press your lower back flat into the mat. And notice what happens to the rest of your body when you do that. As you inhale, let it release. And aim your tailbone towards the mat. And just continue breathing with your eyes closed, getting in tune deep, deep inside of you. Notice what's happening with the breath, with your mind, with your movement. And notice if it's forced or if it's just an easy. And see if you could let go of controlling it and let it be easy. So notice, are you really aiming yourself down and forcing yourself into a position, or are you just letting yourself go? So you keep going with your head just like this with your eyes closed. I'm going to turn my head to see you guys and see how you're doing. Good. And just rock and let yourself kind of ease your way. See what your back is telling you this morning. And then bring your legs together so your thighs are touching, possibly your ankles, your knees, and let your knees drop a little side to side. Not big movements, just enough that when you drop your legs to the right, you almost feel your left hip leaving the floor. And notice if you're adjusting yourself in any other way. So my hands are like this because I'm feeling the connection of my lower ribs to my hip bones. Obviously, they're not going to connect, but I'm also making sure that I'm not flaring. So I'll show you. I'm not pushing out my lower ribs like this. I'm just relaxing easily and letting my legs be together so that I could feel the hips subtly lifting one side at a time. I'm not going too far, just a little. So almost like the click of a metronome. So it's side and side. So you're going to be hearing a lot of that. I've been struggling with some allergies, so I apologize for all the throat clearing today ahead of time. And then come center and walk your feet a little wider and just lift your right leg up into tabletop. See how that feels. Bring it down, lift your left leg up into tabletop, and let's just start real simple and easy. One leg at a time. Keeping everything aligned. And notice, are you shifting in other parts of your body as you do this? And see if you could land softly. And if you're feeling pretty good, like this is a nothing exercise, the next time your one leg goes into tabletop, bring the other leg to meet it. Now just stay here. I'm moving my arms so you can see. And do your pelvic tilt again. So you're pressing your belly button down into the mat, and then you're pressing your tailbone down. And you'll notice if I'm doing that, your legs are going to start moving. So see if you could find that position where there's just a tiny little space in the small of your back, and just holding this position should be a little bit of a challenge. Keep those legs pretty close together and let both legs drop a little to the left. Come center, let them both drop a little to the right, and continue a little side to side. So I'm keeping my knees hip width apart as opposed to keeping them together. And as I drop my legs to the right, I'm making sure that my knees are stacked. So one leg is not shifting forward or back. And I'm only going a little bit, and I feel this. I feel my abdominal muscles kicking in. If you're finding yourself tired, you might notice the knees start to come in closer like this. It takes a little of the stress away, but it also pulls you out of neutral alignment. So can you find your way to maintain that neutral alignment? And notice what's happening with the rest of your body, and see if you could go a little smoother side to side. You should start to feel those obliques kicking in. And then come center. If you get fatigued, bring your feet to the mat. But I just want everybody to open and close their legs like this. So I'm going to put one leg down so you can see I'm just opening and closing to the side. You could also do what I'm doing here, do one leg at a time. That's a little bit easier. Or you could do it with your feet on the mat. So find the version that works for you. And the next time your legs separate a little, wrap your hands around your shins and gently start circling your knees simultaneously, like you're drawing outward circles. And then reverse them. This should feel really nice in the hip sockets. And then bring your feet back down to the mat, lift your arms to the sky, and bring one arm behind you at a time. You could bring the other arm all the way down to the mat. You could leave it up. Just play around with it, see how it feels in your neck and shoulders. Then maybe do both together behind you. And as you exhale, bring those arms behind you and see how it maintains an easier way to keep your spine neutral. The next time your hands find their way to your hips, maybe walk your heels in a little closer and start to press that back into the mat and lift your hips up one vertebra at a time into a bridge. So from here, you're in a bridge. You want to keep your hips higher than your ribs. And then slowly peel your spine all the way down to the mat and then peel up again. So take your time, keep your head and neck neutral like I'm showing you right now. And just watch for the tendency to flare those ribs. Keep them down, keep the hips up, keep your gaze straight towards the ceiling. Notice if you're rolling into the inside or outside of your feet. And then peel down again. Feel everything. Then from here, bring your right leg and left leg back up into tabletop. Bring both arms up into tabletop. As you bring one leg down, bring the opposite arm back and come together and continue alternating here. And it doesn't matter if all of a sudden you are doing the same arm and leg. You can try that as well. In fact, I'll just play around with different variations. No matter what, the goal is to maintain the neutral spine as you move your body. You should feel those abs kicking in again. And then bring yourself all the way down. Bring your hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers and place them at the base of your skull. Lift your elbows a tiny bit. In fact, just take a moment here and just let the elbows come down and let the elbows lift. As you do this, when you lift the elbows, notice how it takes it out of the outside of those shoulders. If you leave them down, you may not be feeling it, but lift the elbows up and notice how it kind of realigns you. And then these pointy parts of your ribs, the part that everybody loves to flare, where my hands are, they're going to press into the mat to help you lift your head, neck, and shoulders off the mat. And then while you're here, let your head rest into your hands. See if you can press even deeper into the bottom of those ribs to lift your head, neck, and shoulders, and then come back down. So the lift comes from down here. It's actually coming from pressing the ribs underneath. So exhale, press down, lift up, let your head rest behind your hands. Bring your hands up and over, reach your hands around your hamstring, and lift a little higher. So you might feel a little bit of a strain in the back of your neck, but if your head and neck is aligned, you should be okay here. Then bring your hands back behind your head and lay back down. Exhale, lift, lift a little higher, reach your hands behind your hamstrings, bring them back and come back down. So do that again. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders up Bring your hands behind your hamstrings, lift a little higher, reach them back behind your head, and come back down. Now from here, lift your legs into tabletop, wrap your hands behind your hamstrings here. Think of looking towards your thighs as you press your toes towards that wall in front of you to roll up nice and slow. Holding onto your hamstrings, start to roll back from the bottom of your spine and let your heels start to drag as you come all the way back down. Exhale and lift nice and slow. Do your best to resist the urge to use momentum. Roll back down. One more time. Press your legs towards that wall. Come all the way up. And bring your hands behind you. Now, I'm not going to get picky as to how you're holding your hands. You might prefer to have them this way. Whatever works for you, this feels better to me. And then you're just going to lift your right leg up into tabletop. Wrap your hand behind the right hamstring. Left leg up into tabletop. Hand behind the left hamstring and hold this. So can you allow your legs to rest into your hands as you sit nice and tall? So this is a teaser variation. And if this feels okay, can you lift your legs straight? And you're continuing to hold. You could climb your hands a little higher and do your best to maintain a neutral spine. I just cramped up, so I'm going to come right back down and I'm going to see if I can find teaser. And then come back down, soles of the feet together, knees apart. And we're going to lean forward and hopefully you're feeling a nice inner thigh stretch, maybe even into the lower back a little. And then from here, we're going to face each other. And you're just going to bring your right leg back and your left leg in front. If by any chance this is super uncomfortable for you, you can grab a yoga block or a roller and sit on top of it. So from here, you're going to lift up your right arm and just notice that we're not pulling into our ear. You're nice and neutral. Your left hand is onto the floor towards your left leg. Let's take a moment here. So my hands are right at the base of my ribs. So if I had an invisible belt here, I want to lift up over that belt so that I'm really lengthening through my spine. And then I'm going to come up and switch sides. So I'm just going to continue this up and over, up and over. It should feel good. See if you can sit tall on those sit bones. The next time your right hand comes up and you're lifting up, if you need to, you could press your hand into the mat. Bring your right hand to the mat. So both hands are about shoulder distance apart. Look at the edge of your mat and exhale, press that right hip down. Inhale, let it lift. So think of cat and cow, very gently going through your breath, exhaling and inhaling through your body. And just feel what you're feeling. So for those of you who weren't here for the earlier conversation and it's not on the video, I taught my first class in 2 weeks from vacation, and boy, are I feeling my hips, and boy, am I feeling them now. Bring that back hip back, arm over, and take your counter stretch. Then from here, lay completely onto your left side and just straighten out your legs so you're in one long line. So this might be just fine for you, but if you'd like to, you can bend both knees back here to give yourself a little better base of support. And then from here, I want you to press through your forearm to lift your hips off the mat and then come back down. And let's do that 2 more times, just a tiny lift and lower. 1 more time and hold it. And then come back down. If you need more support, you could bend that top knee in, or you could, whatever you feel good about, keep that top leg straight and draw a tiny circle with that top leg. Watch the tendency to sink into that shoulder. So you don't want to sink into it like this. You want to really press up. Reverse the circle of that leg. Really like you're trying to draw a circle on the wall where your toe is pointing. Then swing that leg forward, kick it forward, and point it back. Taking your time, flex it forward, and point it back. You can continue doing this, or you can add opposition in your arms. That's it. Nice. So notice if you started to sink in that shoulder. Everybody looks pretty good, but I can't really tell. The next time your leg goes back and your arm goes forward, see if you can feel that stretch. And then bring both legs so they're on top of each other. Lift your feet and open and close that top leg 8 times. And really lift into here or rest. Just 4 more here. And then lay down, and you can use your bottom arm as a pillow, or you could just let your head relax down here. Both arms are on top of each other if possible. Lift your top arm so it's parallel to the floor and reach it forward like you're trying to touch the wall in front of you. Then reach it to the ceiling and look up at your arm as you roll back. So what you want to really maintain is the alignment in your neck and shoulders. We don't want to let that top shoulder jut forward. If you have the room, you can open up your arm behind you. If not, you can put your hand behind your head so you have somewhere to go. Unravel. And then take that top leg behind you, press your top hand into the mat to come back up to sitting, and we're going to change the legs. So now we're going to have your right leg forward and your left foot back. And same thing, if you need a little assistance, you can sit onto the roller or a yoga block, whatever you need to do to maintain a neutral spine. So we're going to press and lift up, lift the ribs on the right side as you come up and over, and you're going to switch sides. We're just going to do this a couple times and just feel how that's feeling in your lower back and your waist, up and over. The next time your right hand comes down, bring your left hand to the mat. And then you have both hands on the mat, and as you exhale, press your back hip down. Inhale, look forward. So think of cat and cow. And really exhale, feel that lower back opening up. Inhale, lengthen forward. The next time that hip comes down, twist to the side, come up and take that counter stretch. And then we're gonna lay completely onto your right side. So start by straightening everything out and decide if you'd like more support. We're just gonna lift and lower the hip 3 times. 3, 2, 1, and hold. Then come back down. You can stay up here, you could lay down. You're going to straighten out that top leg and draw a tiny little circle. So again, your choice. I like to keep my bottom leg bent. It just helps me stay stable. Reverse. If you're really feeling stable, you can straighten that leg out. And then swing that leg forward and point it back. Kick it forward, point it back, and really keep this stable. If you like, you can add the opposition with the arms. Excellent. The next time that leg goes back and the arm goes forward, hold it, hold it, hold it. Then come down, legs together, lift your feet and open and close your top knee 8 times. Do your best to maintain the alignment of the head, neck, and shoulders. 3 more. 2 and 1, and then you're going to lay onto your side. And these are stacked, arms are stacked. Lift your arms so it's parallel to the floor. Reach it forward, reach it to the ceiling. Keeping everything stacked, roll back. If you need to, you can put your hand behind your head. And just let yourself open up. Take a nice deep breath here. So you're going to feel this anywhere from your chest to your back. Unravel, and we're going to roll to our bellies. So start just like this with your elbows under your armpits and your forearms in front of you. Now, just for a second, because it's really not great, let your belly drop. Notice how that feels. Now I want you to press through your forearms and feel your hip bones anchoring to the mat. And feel a little more support. So think of resisting the urge to sink into that lower back. We want support. It should feel so much better that you did that tiny little change. Then from here, just keeping this position, bend your right leg. Now I want you to imagine somebody put an egg under your knee. You're going to bend that right leg and you're going to lift the knee a little bit and kick twice. Lengthen that leg out and come down. Bend the left leg, kick twice, lengthen and come down. Kick, kick, and down. Kick, kick, and down. So you're on those forearms, and we're really lengthening everything. You can even imagine yourself pulling your forearms on the mat so you get more extension in the upper back. So it's kick, kick, and down. Kick, kick, and down. 2 more. 1 more. And you could rest all the way down. Bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs side to side. Then come back center, extend your legs, bring your hands under your armpits, let your forehead rest on the mat. Roll your shoulder blades away from your ears. If you need to, widen your legs a little. Hip bones anchored into the mat. As you inhale, start by lifting your nose. Feel your elbows reaching towards the wall behind you to lift you up, getting more of an extension in your upper back. Anchor your hip bones into the mat and add a little lift here. So again, we're really resisting the urge of getting into the lower back. This is all upper back. And then you're going to slowly bend your elbows and come back down. So you're only going to go as far as your back allows. Inhale and lift, really opening through the chest. So I'm lifting my head by letting my chest open forward. Now from here, if you choose to increase the difficulty level, you're going to let your hands lift as you rock forward. So you're going to come forward and up, and forward and up, and you can do what you need to do. I just cramped up. So that was a good sign because it was showing you that I was not loading into my lower back. So when you're ready, come back to your hands and knees just like I am, and let's just do some cats and cows. Taking your time, rolling through your body, using your breath. So if at any point this feels very tense in your wrists, let's do fists for wrists and see how that feels. Again, working through your spine. And then from here, bring your right foot back. Do your best to keep your hips even. Point your right foot and lift that leg up. Bring your left arm forward. Feel as if you could levitate off the mat and then bring your hand and foot down. Extend your left foot back. Point that foot towards the wall behind you. Lift up that leg, reach your right arm forward and come back down. So let's continue. Inhale as you lift your arm and leg. Exhale as you return. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale, return. Continue. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale, return. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, return. Grab your foam roller and come to the very back part of your mat. And have the roller right in front of your knees, kneeling tall. And you're going to walk your way forward so that your forearms are on the mat and you're right above your knees. Then from here, you're going to roll towards your hips and forward. Back and forth, getting into the quadriceps. Again, watching out that we are not overarching in our lower backs. We're also not caving into our shoulders. So you should feel a massage in your quadriceps. And come back. And from here, we're going to bring the roller where your shoulder blades are going to be. Sit towards the front of the mat and start to lay back and hopefully find that position where you're at the very base of your shoulder blades. So where the pointy part of the shoulder blade is. You can adjust this a little higher up towards your head. I wouldn't go much lower than the pointy end, but I definitely want you over the shoulder blades and go ahead and roll up and down and see how that feels. Let your head rest into your hands. And then find that place where you feel like it's going to give you the most work of opening up your chest. Keeping your back into the mat, slowly let your head come back and get a nice stretch in your chest. If that feels good, open your elbows nice and wide and just stay here. Same thing, we're just opening up the upper back. It should feel really good in the chest, the neck, the shoulders. And we're also making sure we're not over flaring into the ribs. You feel the contact of the roller in your back. So you may decide, I'm not crazy about where this is. You can kind of change the positioning just to see what might feel better. Just please never go lower than the bottom of those shoulder blades or the ribs. Just find where it feels best to you. And then come up and we'll do everybody's favorite part where you just let your head rest on the roller and you're going to roll your head side to side, getting a nice massage in your neck, rolling side to side. Maybe going to one side a little and then the other. And hopefully you're really happy here. And then you're gonna release the roller and place it under your knees and place your feet on the roller. We're gonna do another bridge, lift up as you press your feet into the roller, lifting the hips off of the mat. And once your hips are up, roll your feet forward and back. See if you could increase the sensation in your lower body. And then slowly roll down. And then bring the roller in, and when you come up into your bridge, rest your hips on the roller, and it should feel really nice. And then just hug your right leg into your chest, and bring your left leg straight. So when I say that, my knee is aiming more towards my right armpit than it is towards my head. And that's because that's the natural line of the bone into the hip. If you want, go ahead and try that and you'll see it feels like there's an obstruction. So if you open it up just a little bit, it opens it up more. And go ahead and circle that right foot from the ankle joint and reverse the circle. Let your leg rest into your hands and see if you can straighten out that left leg even more. So your right leg is bent, your knee that you're holding with your hands is bent, and your leg that's extended on the floor is straight. So what we're doing is we're opening up the hip flexor in the left leg. We're just getting some mobility in the right leg and the right ankle joint, but we're really focusing on opening up that left hip flexor. And then start to slide that left knee in, bring your right leg down, lift your left leg up, and then straighten out that right leg. So now we're working on the right hip flexor, and we're going to circle our left foot from the ankle joint. Good. So I like holding on to my legs so I'm not pulling in my hip flexor. So if you're having a hard time reaching your leg or it bothers you at all, you can always put a strap or something underneath it. Because if you just do it like this, which I'm seeing some people doing, you're going to pull into that hip flexor, and that's kind of defeating the point. So if you can, just hold on to that leg whatever way feels right to you. And then go ahead, slide that right leg in and bring both feet up. And we're going to start rolling our hips, our legs side to side, getting a nice massage in the area that I'm feeling it the most. So we're getting into gluteus medius, piriformis, maybe a little gluteus minimus. Oh my goodness, are those hips tight? I always find it interesting, one leg is more sore than the other, but that's because when I'm doing the workouts, a lot of times I'm teaching and I'll leave the middle of what I'm doing to walk around and check out my class. So I need to do my own workouts on top of the teaching workouts. And then come back center. If you need to, I need to readjust that roller. Just make sure it's not into the waistline. It's always on the bones of the hips. And you're going to lift your legs as high up towards the sky as possible. So if you don't have the flexibility in your hamstrings, just let your legs come a little lower. And all I want you to do here is just extend one leg at a time, like you're doing cross-country skiing. So if you hear that click, that is me, and I am working on it, trying to figure out ways to move in a healthier way. It's just something I've been living with. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And whenever you're ready, start bicycling your legs. And reverse it. And then bring your legs back together. Hug onto your shins for a minute. Get a little bit of an extra stretch in that lower back. And bring your feet to the mat. Lift your hips up. Remove the roller and set it aside. So set it out of your way. And we're just going to start windshield wiping our legs side to side. And when you're ready, both legs drop to the left and let them just stay there. So there's a couple things to keep in mind. For the most part, you shouldn't feel much of anything but a little stretch in the right leg. If you feel your knee, as long as it's not an alarming, painful pull, you can let it rest. If you'd like a little more support, you could put a yoga block or a pillow under that right knee. If you'd like to increase this stretch, you can walk your right foot back a little and feel as if you are pressing your right thigh bone forward, and you could really feel the front of that leg stretching. So this is good, especially if you're planning going for a run or a hike or anything. Allow that leg to relax and interlace your fingers back behind your head Just take a moment here, and when you exhale, pick up your right elbow and bring it all the way up and over. And maybe this is as far as your body wants to go today. You're going to just stay here and continue to breathe and let gravity maybe eventually bring that right elbow to the floor. And don't wait to push it. The goal is not to get your elbow to the floor. The goal is to release in the psoas and the quadratus lumborum. So you're just here and breathing. And again, if you feel a pull in that knee and you need to adjust your positioning, do so. Just take a couple more breaths. And then unwind and let both legs drop to the right. Same thing as before. Decide if you want to walk that leg back a little or back in. It really depends on how you're feeling. Feel that left thigh bone pressing forward. Allow your upper body to completely relax. Then pick up that left elbow and bring it all the way up and over to the floor on the right side. And just stay here and breathe. Hopefully feeling a stretch back here where I put my hand all the way through the front of your body. You can hold it longer if you like, but if you're okay with it, just come back with me back here. And since we're here and the legs are already on the wider edges of the mat, let's take a wide-legged bridge. So press that back into the mat to lift your hips up, one vertebra at a time. Again, watching for over-flaring the ribs. Slowly come down. So we're going to do what I call a yoga bridge, and we're going to really work on observing the flare of the ribs. So from here, your hands are by your hips. Your feet are wherever they feel best to you. As you exhale, press that lower back into the mat. Start to lift your hips up. And when they get up here, clasp your hands together underneath you. This might be all you want to do. Or if you feel okay here, begin to roll one shoulder underneath you at a time. So when we do this, it's natural to want to flare those ribs. So this is what you see. But what I'd like for you to do is relax the ribs as you lift the hips even higher. So why I like this version of bridge a lot is because it does release the upper trapezius, the shoulders, and it helps in the neck. And eventually it helps with other Pilates exercises where you can get your hands under your sacrum and you're gonna do some exercises kind of suspended here. I'm not doing that. Carefully roll all the way down. Take your time. And your choice, you can do assisted or you can do a full roll up. So if you'd like to do the full roll up, I honestly don't even know if I'm up for it today. Hands above your head. Inhale, as you exhale, bring your arms towards the ceiling and roll all the way up to sitting. And since we're here, your feet could be a little wider. I want you to imagine that you're leaning against a wall. So from here down, there's an imaginary wall. Keep your head, neck, and shoulders aligned and feel somebody's pulling your back to the wall as you reach forward. So we're not over flexing in the spine. You should actually feel toning in your belly. And we're not reaching out of the shoulder joints. You're just here reaching forward and your hands don't go down. You're parallel to the floor. Then come up and sit tall and open the arms to the side. Widen your feet even more and just twist your body from your ribs to the right. Stay there. come center, twist to the left. And I just want you to go side to side. And we're really working from the ribs. And then come center, then come back to your hands and knees. Walk your hands to the front of the mat, curl your toes underneath you, and then press your legs into a downward facing dog or an inverted V. So we're gonna keep everything lined up. Your ears are pretty much right between your arms, and we're not overextending, we're just right about here. So maintaining this, maybe walk your feet back a tiny bit further. Shift your weight more towards your toes and find your way into a plank. Maintain the plank and point your right foot back. Bring it down, point your left foot back, bring it down and come back into that inverted V. Then come all the way up to standing, rolling one vertebrae at a time, all the way up. So I'm going to adjust the camera so that I'm not completely headless. I hope this works because I'm doing this from 2 vantage points. Okay, so now we're all standing straight up, and roll your shoulders forward, up, back, and down, and look straight ahead. Hopefully you're able to see yourself in the mirror just so you know that you're lined up. And I just want you to lift up your right ear towards the ceiling. So when I usually ask this, I see a lot of people lifting that shoulder. So what I'd love for you to feel is a stretch in the right side of your neck. Just stay here for a moment, allowing that to open up. And then look down at your left armpit. Be very mindful not to yank your head forward with your left hand. Just place your left hand at the base of your skull. Press your head into your hand and release. Roll your chin center. Lift your head up. Maybe roll your shoulders back into their pockets and lift your left ear to the sky and just stay here. You can hold this as long as you like. Start to look down at your right armpit. Take your right hand at the base of your skull and press your head back into your hands. Release your hand, roll your chin center. Lift your head up. Just for fun, let's lift and lower our heels. So we want to really work on stabilization of the ankle joints. We want to work on strengthening the whole body and your balance. You can see mine needs help. Maintain the heels lifted. Just lift your right arm up. Lift your left arm up. Try not to go into the outside of those ankles. Bring your hands down and slowly come down. If you need to, flex one foot as you sit back a little so you get a calf stretch. I know you can't see it in the Zoom video, but I'm just flexing my top leg forward so my toes are reaching to the sky, so it looks more like this. And then come back, and I bring your thumbs to your hearts. I want to wish you all love, peace, joy, and wonderful good health always. Namaste. I'm going to turn off the camera.